The market is saturated with small crossover SUVs like this 2023 Toyota Corolla Cross, Honda HR-V, Mazda CX-30, Kia Seltos, Chevy Trax, Subaru Crosstrek, the list just goes on and on. But unlike the vast majority of those small crossover SUVs, this one is available with a hybrid powertrain. So, is it any good? Let's go for a drive and find out. Just like the new Toyota Prius, this Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid uses the same powertrain. At the heart of it is a 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine that on its own produces 150 horsepower and 139 pound-feet of torque. With the addition of the electric motors, the total output is 196 horsepower. In a car that weighs 1.5 tons, those type of numbers won't really be setting off any sort of 0 to 60 records. In fact, Car and Driver tested this car and I think that they had a 0 to 60 time of 7.3 seconds. So not that fast. But every time that you put your foot down or you go up a hill, the speed actually builds up pretty quickly. Again, you're not going to be getting that push to the back of the seat feeling, but before you know it, you're going to be going faster than the speed limit. In everyday city driving, the car likes to set off from a stop just on the electric motors until about 20-ish kilometers an hour, and then the engine takes over to get you up to, say, 60, 70, 80 kilometers an hour. Then, if the battery is almost fully charged or has enough of a charge, it'll switch over to EV, so you'll see that little green EV icon appear on the dashboard. The car also does have a dedicated EV mode, which you can activate by pressing the little button in front of the gear selector. However, in this mode, while you can accelerate a little bit more quickly just using electricity, the mode gets disabled as soon as the speed reaches 30 or 40 kilometers an hour, or if you push hard enough on the throttle pedal. Overall, this car is really easy to drive and pretty fuel efficient as well. It's rated at 5.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 6.2 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. So yes, you do get better fuel economy if you stick to city driving. And currently I am averaging 5.4 liters per 100 kilometers, so it is really easy to achieve those type of numbers. Some of the recharging of the battery is done by the engine, while the other is done through braking. Using the brake pedal will provide a lot of regen braking, with firmer brake pedal applications seamlessly transitioning to the physical brakes. With the addition of the electric motor powering the back wheels, the 2023 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid doesn't struggle to get off the line when you find yourself on loose soil or snow. But don't mistake this for some sort of TRD rally car. Once the car gets moving off the line, power is sent primarily to the front wheels. Sometimes power is sent to the rear motor when going around corners, but this Corolla Cross Hybrid still feels and drives like a front-wheel drive compact crossover SUV. The ride of the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid is adequate for most city streets. Most potholes and manhole covers don't feel too jarry as the car drives over them, but deep potholes transfer the shunt throughout the car when the tire hits them. In a city environment, the cabin is generally quiet. It's on highways that you'll notice more road noise from the tires. You'll also be noticing the engine quite often when accelerating, either from a stop or when overtaking another vehicle. It is a very noisy little engine. The transition, however, from the electric motors to the gasoline engine is seamless when the car is on the move. Now looking at the interior of the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, it is very simple and straightforward to use. It looks really similar to the standard Corolla sedan. So you get the same steering wheel, the same infotainment touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto connectivity. If you take a few minutes to play around with this infotainment system, if you've never seen it before that is, you'll find out that it's actually really simple to use and it's well structured in the way that the menu system is set up. The car also has physical climate controls, which I am a big fan of, but on this SE trim it's single zone climate control, whereas on the XSE trim it's dual automatic climate control. And you also get a couple of toggle switches for the front heated seats as well as a button for the heated steering wheel. One thing to note about the heated steering wheel is that Toyota took a page out of Mazda's book, and heating is only for the 9 and 3 positions. Top and bottom are not heated. So as I said, a pretty straightforward to use interior. However, one thing that you will immediately notice as soon as you step into this car is just how much plastic there is. And it's the scratchy type of plastic. However, the dashboard in front of the passenger seat is actually soft to the touch. But what I really hate is the gloss black that's around the gear selector and around the climate controls. This easily attracts dust and fingerprints and who knows what else. Also, one more thing about the cup holders, they are pretty decently sized, so if you have a wide cup, it'll fit just fine. But they don't have anything in here to actually prevent the cup from moving around. So a medium-sized cup will fit just fine and it's not going to spill over if you take a corner too quickly. But anything larger than that, like a large or an extra large, it could spill over, so just be aware of that. As for interior space, I am 6'4", above average in height, and I have plenty of legroom and plenty of headroom. Mind you, this seat is in its lowest position, so that's why I have so much of it, but even if you raise it, you'll still have plenty of headroom. And that's about it for the front seat, so let's go check out the back. Obviously, cars like these were not designed with somebody as tall as me in mind, especially when that tall person is sitting behind somebody that's equally as tall. Which is why my knees are buried into the back of the front seat. In fact, I can feel the metal insides of this seat digging into my knees, and it's kind of starting to hurt a little bit. But more average sized adults should have an okay amount of leg space in these back seats. One thing I will say is that space for my feet is more than enough, and as I said earlier, the seat is in its lowest position. Additionally, headroom is pretty okay. My hair is pretty close to the headliner, but it's not actually touching. As for the rest of this interior, you don't really have much to do back here. You do have a couple of air vents to play around with, and there are 2 USB ports in the very bottom, but that's about it. The cup holders are in the doors, and they do hold a medium double-double just fine. So bring a magazine or something to entertain yourself on those longer journeys in these back seats. In the trunk, the Corolla Cross Hybrid has just 609 liters of space behind the rear seats, which is a bit less than the Kia Seltos or the new 2024 Chevy Trax. With the back seats folded, the cargo capacity increases to 1,750 liters, which is more in line with its competitors. Under the floor, you'll find a small storage space, but you won't find a spare wheel as this hybrid model does not come with one. Unfortunately, the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid gets a significant price bump compared to a similarly equipped gasoline Corolla Cross. In Canada, the hybrid starts at $34,190 Canadian for this SE trim. If you want the XSE trim, it'll cost you $37,490 Canadian. If you live in the United States, however, you have one more trim option for the Corolla Cross Hybrid that lowers the starting price. The Corolla Cross Hybrid S starts at $27,970 US. These are all 2024 prices. So for all that money, what does the Corolla Cross Hybrid come with? Well, in addition to some of the features that I mentioned earlier, like the heated front seats and single-zone automatic climate control, it also has standard push-button start, keyless entry, LED headlights, and 17-inch alloy wheels. Moving up to the XSE trim, we'll add larger 18-inch wheels, a power sunroof, a power liftgate, auto-dimming rearview mirror, a larger 7-inch driver display instead of the standard 4.2-inch display, 8-way power driver seat wrapped in soft text upholstery, a dual-zone automatic climate control, and a wireless phone charging pad. So is the Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid worth the money? Well, with a starting price of around $34,000 Canadian, that is a big chunk of change. For roughly $2,000 more, you can actually get into a Toyota RAV4 Hybrid. That is if dealerships don't add on the markups. And for the same price as this car, you can get into a well-equipped Kia Niro Hybrid. Now granted, the Kia Niro doesn't have as powerful of an engine as this, and it doesn't have all-wheel drive like this, but it does have a few more features and more passenger volume, especially in those back seats. So there are those trade-offs. As for this Corolla Cross Hybrid, I just think it costs too much for us here in Canada. If Toyota offered it in one lower trim level and dropped the price to $31,000 Canadian, then I think it would make more sense. But until then, I think it just costs a little bit too much. Anyway, if you would like to know more about this 2023 Toyota Corolla Cross Hybrid, I have a written review with a few more details about it over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up here. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck or, guess what, another SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video and see you next time.